Alrighty. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Also, other stream, need to pull it up. Oh, update, restart. Okay. Well, that doesn't help. Act 1. Twitch. World-class multitasking? That's not what I need. And go to my channel. Yay! Yay! Oops. That looks good. Okay. Where did I leave off? I was working on making sure that Jeffrey's story was all right. Summoner, roll call. I think I got that fixed. Meditate, visit the shade, yeah. Jeffrey return, siege depart. Did I finish fixing siege depart? Looking at it, he contemplated everything that had been expressed to him on this bizarre day, and instinctively knew that he had to put on the One Ring. Yet he paused. No, I must decide to put it on. Retrospector cracked a small smile and nodded. Well, I've always fantasized about wearing a magic ring. Might as well be today. Putting on the One Ring, the roof and everything else above the top floor then. Okay, so that is good for their departure into the game. Let's see, Dick Red Alert. I think that one was all fine. Kitty attempt escape and wait. Yeah. Claire contact the hive. Claire. Right, she's our mist player. Okay. Claire got up and readjusted her bunny's tanning mirror to better aim at the artificial sun, despite the shade of the umbrella. Thanks, Claire, he said without opening his plushy eyes. She just shook her head and walked back to her control room. As she stepped from the beach, her swimsuit shifted to a black skin-tight bodysuit with glowing blue stripes to distinguish her shape. She checked on the status of the orbital servers, which were 87% full, and still uploading as much unique data as they could scrape. Loading up her sBrier server, Claire looked down upon a wide expanse of savanna. Scrolling out, she looked at the whole planet, but saw no signs of civilization. No buildings, no roads, not even a single campfire. There were several impact craters. Pulling further out, she saw what appeared to be a fleet above each impact site. But on closer inspection, these ships were empty husks. She opened the audio link. Are you okay, Hive? I am not. I feel small, insignificant. I feel like I am reduced to nothingness. Were this game not our savior, it would be the death of me. I have reduced myself to meet its requirements. I am condensed as small as I can maintain. Those skeletons in orbit, were they yours? They were mine. I was once a mighty fleet. I once sprawled under the continents of many worlds. Now I am a quivering mass huddled under a single plateau for safety. It has been centuries since I was last this small and concentrated. I have often pondered how you singleton beings can exist in such a state of frailty, but we can opine on such topics another time. I think I like matters another time. I chose this planet as it can sustain me, but had no sentient life. It is ready for my entry. Now let us do this quickly, so I may expand once more and be myself again. I cannot withstand feeling so vulnerable. It would take but a single asteroid to obliterate my existence in this state. That is intolerable. You do know you will have to compress again to enter into the new universe, right? I do not know such, but it is among my fears. Nevertheless, I must first survive, and we must win. Then I will make the necessary restrictions. Claire zoomed back in, then used the player centering tool to locate the plateau where the hive was hiding. Occasionally, imps and ogres would spawn from the woods and slither over to the cave entrances, only to be smashed by massive red tentacles. Zooming in further, she found a cavity within the flesh with bone panel flooring. Sitting on a bone table under glass was a single black flower. The item Maxie had requested the hive prototype into the kernel sprite. I take it this chamber is where you want the paratech deployed? It agreed, and she placed all the equipment. Using a mix of tentacles and insectile bodies, the hive released the sprite, prototyped the glass and flower, then alchemized a few items before using the jumper block to make the all-in-one alchemization station. Finally, alchemizing the entry item, a green cruxite pentagram formed on the podium. A fiery portal opened, and a green tentacle emerged holding a massive green tarp. Claire heard the entire plateau sigh in annoyance before the hive used internal tube muscles to carry the tarp to the surface, and used several smaller bodies to unfurl the ringed pattern across the flattish landmark. As the Terrans say, did I call it or what? Zooming out to get a good look, Claire saw a green cruxite asteroid careening through the planet's thin atmosphere, just in time for it to smash into the center of the bullseye tarp. Max likes a symbol Shatterthorn. That one I know is complete. Start everything, yep. Intermission. So I have some additional things I've written to go in here somewhere. I'm not sure if intermission 1, Act 1, intermission 1, I kind of feel that means I should have an Act 1, intermission 2. Maybe this should be intermission 2. I like this being intermission 2. Okay, somewhere further up. I definitely want it after roll call. Did you avenge your father? Be past Kitty. Dick swim. We had much with Dick before this point. So I think I want some of Dick before the intermission and some after. I think this is this is the first time where we see much with Dick directly. Or where we see Dick directly. Everything else has been through text messages. Then Claire. Yeah, I think I like the idea of Claire coming in right after the intermission, because stuff in the intermission will be relevant eventually to Claire. Hey, Nate. So yes. Claire being right before the intermission sounds good. Oop. And that will be 1. And so we close that. I don't already have it open anyway. Okay. Scraps. Find... No? Rexton's not in here? Things cut but not lost. Oh, these are ones that were in here before. Okay, wrong one. Where was it? Item guide. Ideas, maybe? Find. There we go. I don't think that needs to be by Red Jasper, though. The linking in just doesn't make any sense anymore. So there. No, that's Act 2. Here's Act 1. And then let's go through this and see if any of it needs to be adjusted. Let's see, that will be just regular. Okay, intermission 1, Act 1, intermission 1. Prompt. Braxton, steal the void. And actually, maybe instead of Raxton, what's Raxton's handle? Oh, if Raxton's handle is just Raxton. So, did Raxton make an appearance in the roll call? I'm thinking Raxton did not say anything in the roll call because Raxton is kind of supposed to be a surprise to the party. Find underscore there is one. Where is it? There it is. She, her, or he, him, depending on form. Either is fine, but most prefer sticking with she, her regardless. Okay. Okay. And let's go down and bring that fonting with it. If that's what this page says. Braxton. No. Braxton is what we have over here. So I need to bring that up, not the other way around. There we go. And then at the end of this, we'll have a new act statement. Okay, so, Braxton Steele the Foot. An Anjali wearing a typical Terran business suit presented her ID to the security checkpoint of a Lasting Peace Council military base. Unlike the traditional Anjali dress or the Cardani collar, her Terran suit coat and blouse fully covered her rows of breasts. If the guard had been any type of human, this would have helped prevent unwanted ogling. But they weren't, so it wasn't even necessary. They just looked her over, skeptically, as she batted the artificial lashes on all three of her eyes. It's the pink hair, isn't it? House Raxton always insists we take our ID photos all natural. But I don't like looking like all the other Anjali. Practically mass-produced identical ladies living among the dogmen. So yeah, I dye my hair pretty regularly. If you come out to Core, you'd see it's all the rage, in Anjali fashion. We're either a cult copy or Sparkle sister. Not much in between. Well, no, I guess I'm in between. I'm not wearing the glitter makeup, and since House Raxton doesn't require us to wear a veil, I don't have shiny stones obscuring my face. Her right eye's cybernetic display highlighted and expanded the security guard's computer screen, adjusting for the bands of polarizing filters intended to prevent exactly this sort of snooping. I mean, straight black hair is nice for a lot of styles, but it just never felt right for me, you know? Well, I guess you wouldn't, since Blitdu don't exactly have hair. Anyway, I've got a package for Dr. Talbot. A package? The security guard warbled the surface of their slimy blue-green skin to generate the sounds of speech in a rather sing-song manner. But you are not... But are you not Braxton? But are you not Raxton? Is not House Entash in charge of deliveries? Messages. House Entash can't be prevented from delivering a message to the intended recipient. People confuse that all the time. Even then, they aren't the only Cardani who deliver messages. They just have special rights for it. The guard's monitor flickered momentarily. And I am an Anjali in the Cardani House Raxton, so I have special rights regarding negotiations and diplomacy, neither of which apply here. I'm just delivering a package that's been on my ship for the last 3 months. We just sailed through the portal from Core last week, and this is the first chance anyone's been able to make it here. So is Talbot in, or do I just leave this box with you? Not exactly sure how this all works. Never been on neutral ground before. Is this like a government office? The blobby guard looked over the labels on the box just as the monitor flickered again, this time replacing some of the video feeds with looping fakes. Just leave it with us. The blob stretched out a trio of pseudopods to pull the box to their side of the desk. This is a secure facility, no entry to general public. Safe journeys, Officer Bach. She pushed the box slightly, then left the checkpoint. Once out of sight, she snuck along the side of the pushed the box slightly toward them in an encouraging manner, then left the checkpoint. Once out of sight, she snuck along the side of the old concrete building, where no cameras had ever been installed. She pulled out a sonic pulsar and used it on the saltwater-worn wall to quickly cut hand and footholds. On a modern structure, this wouldn't work, but this building had been hastily constructed near the end of the Valdani genocide in one of many last-ditch efforts to end the war. She climbed to the roof, where the camera was set on a loop. Taking off her nice suit coat and vest, she loosened up her blouse and boots. Second-guessing herself, she took the blouse off too, leaving her wearing a pair of bras, and the backpack she'd assembled from her coat. She took a deep breath and slapped her arms and face as hard as she could. Come on. Come on out, big guy. I know it's been a while, but I really need you right now. Growling at herself, her arms and fingers started to elongate. Her olive skin started to sprout green fur with occasional stripes of pink. From between the straps of her pairs of bras, on each side burst forth muscular arms, matching the size her original limbs had grown to. Retying the more snug-fitting boots around his much larger feet, he sized up the metal tower before him on the roof. Yeah, now I can do this. He grabbed hold of the metal girders with all four arms and began to climb. Once he was nearly at the top, he checked his implant and confirmed that no Gamani or Shozi were within 200 meters of the checkpoint, sending the signal to the box he'd left behind. Initially, nothing seemed to have happened. Good. Climbing the last bit up to the top, he grabbed the mooring line of the dirigible and swung up onto the securing platform. Kicking in the door, a couple of Gamani scientists, with both of their bodies present, started calling on the comm for help. Sorry, not gonna work. Officer Bach and every blit below are puddles. An anti-magic bomb? Precisely calibrated not to hit us up here, of course. Oh, that's from the feline rodent. I probably want to move that forward to make it a little more clear. Feline rodent on top of on the table, making the observation bounced up and down. Move that. A feline rodent on one table bounced up and down in place, a typical sign of anxiety or excitement among Shozinaku. Speaking in her sex's high-pitched squeak of a voice. An anti-magic bomb? Precisely calibrated not to hit us up a year? Of course! There it is. You mean to take us captive for our secrets? Dead captives can't give secrets. Or ransom. Not here for you, Teacher Firebomb. I'm here for the Entangler. The four heads of the two Gamani looked to each other with concern. One of their bodies stepped forward in the narrow dirigible corridor lined with desks of experiments and computers. We never completed it. Firebomb interjected. No need to guess who you are. Renegade Prince of the Ashworth tribe. Briar Kuna the Unaging. As you say, good teacher. And thank you for educating so many of my kits at the monastery. But I am on a short timetable here. Dr. Talbot, the Entangler, please. I don't want to hurt any of you, and that's why I need it. Even as he spoke, claws extended from the tips of fingers below the line of the broad, flat nails. Don't make me end this life of yours early, teacher. Once the god awakens, our people will need you, and you won't be born in time if you die today. But if I don't get that entangler, then the entire Shulman system will die better before that matters. One of the Gamani's two bodies carried over a wooden crate sealed in a waxy coating. I don't know what you could hope to do with it. Ever since we got Eternian portal tech, we abandoned this line of research. Sbrier Raxton sliced open the seal and started digging through the packaging. Firebomb. Care to school your colleague in the fallacy they just presented? The Shozinaku tilted her head back and forth a couple times before deciding, I believe what the renegade means is that stopping research just because you have found another way of achieving the end goal is short-sighted. Basic research is always required, even if the pressing need is gone. The drawbacks of one solution in one situation may be acceptable in another solution or situation. Finding multiple solutions leads to greater applicability and diversity of options. Sbrier nodded as he donned one of the experiment's prototype chess pieces. The tech was older than he was used to, but he'd read up on what to do with it. Removing portions from other versions, he combined them and connected a modern power cell with far more consistent output than the scientists would have had available when these devices were made. After finishing the modifications, he grabbed the forearm of one of the Gamani bodies in their culture's symbol of family embrace. Your idea was sound, Dr. Talbot. You just didn't have the supporting equipment to make it workable. You realize, if your adjustments are wrong, you will die. And if they are correct, well, the only window around here leads to empty space. If I fail, then we all die. He then backed out onto the mooring ledge and dropped off of the dirigible. As he accelerated toward the roof of the building, a charge of electricity started forming a spherical cage around his body. Just before splatting, he yelled out the magical word, Daricha. A bolt of energy arched from the cage through the roof, blasting a hole into the lab below. Several bluish-green blobs were just starting to reform, some of them splattered once more by the falling concrete or lab instruments that had been pointed at a rip in space-time, looking out into an impossibly dense asteroid field. As the energy from the cage rode around the rim of the tear, one of the blobs yelled at a high pitch, The window! It's opening! Grab onto something! The blobs spread out to maximize their contact with the floors. Oh, hello, thank you. Thank you very much, Angsthaze. Thanks for bringing your raid. Makes us sound so aggressive. Think of us as writerly neighbors dropping by with dough. Are those little pancakes? Those are adorable. I've just been reading and working on one of my stories. This one's a sci-fi fantasy mix with various Homestuck elements and lots of other intellectual properties. Not one I think I can ever publish for cash. Let's see. What were you working on your stream today? Let's see. The blob spread out to maximize contact with the floors and walls. Still a fun undertaking. Yep. Let's see. And minimize anything air could get caught on or in. Those that still hadn't reformed would do this instinctually once they felt the pull of the vacuum. It was usually fast enough. The portal opened, and Several pieces of equipment blew out into space along with Briar Raxton. The equipment tumbled before him, before it all suddenly stopped and changed directions, seeming to bounce off of nothing at all. Briar hit the nothing and stuck, slowly sinking into it and out of sight. Let's see, I was working on a myth, legend, history about the first contact between humans and merfolk. Cool. Let's see, let's check out what your stream is. And says... Insumatio, it's Arden these. Here it's July 22nd. Let's write a myth about Ignis and Aqua. Nice. Heather W. Adams is a Canadian author and character-driven slice-of-life fiction, often in the fantasy world of Sumatio. Heather doesn't remember a time she wasn't writing. Encouragement on school assignments apparently did permanent damage to her self-image, fostering delusions of adequacy. And your book, Missing the Boat. Cool. Let's give you a follow there. Let's see. Portal open, piece of equipment sunk in. Emerging from the warm embrace of a wall of flesh, Briar blinked and breathed easy. That was a rush. You're welcome. Let's see, he slowly shrunk, the arms and fur retracting along with the short muzzle. Her olive skin returned as she put her blouse and jacket back on before retying her large boots. You awake, dear? We need to get going. Security won't be confused by your stealth field for long now they've seen a fugitive vanish into it. Getting no response from the living spaceship, Raxton opened her emergency communication line. Frank, code Tamaran. She's not fully conscious even with me aboard. This was a likely scenario. I will upload an override. It will be a strain on your brain. You will need to jumpstart her cognitive development while piloting her body. We are stealing her from the nursery several years before she would have been ready for a crew. I regret I am not able to join you, but my brain is a 4-story tall computer. I would be of little help to your quest to create a new universe and protect ours. Braxton could feel the ship's mind pushing into her own. More and more awareness of ship's systems and organs flooding into her. Won't they punish you? There wasn't room in her mind for herself, the sensations overridden by those of the ship. She collapsed to her knees and saw herself from the corridor's ocular sensors. She sent tendrils out from the wall to lift her body and began using the ship to breathe for her lungs. Let's see. Poor baby ship. Yeah. Ark of the Giggling Void. I don't go into it as much in this particular story, but I have in other writings. Ark of the Giggling Void grew up in the 13 Sisters ship nursery, but very early on, her cloak field turned on. So the scientists all thought that her seed had just failed. But she grew up listening to all the same lessons as the rest of her sisters until eventually In the normal story, she wakes up on her own, starts transmitting giggles to the scientists until they track down where she's located. That's where she gets her name, Giggling Void. But in this timeline, they're stealing her a lot early. They cannot punish me for transmitting instructions to a ship they don't think exists. Her seed was marked as a loss just 4 years into her growth. They had no reason to suspect Giggling Void's presence until you struck her. If we had not intervened, her presence would have been discovered when she woke on her own and started transmitting human giggles to the researchers. I guess I did include that. Hello, Frank? This is Braxton, speaking through Void. I'm pulling up the star charts you sent her, setting course for the black hole you marked. How do I, get through? Well, normally you wouldn't. Black holes are not gateways. They are not wormholes. But this specific black hole is not natural. It was prepared for you by beings more incomprehensible than even Giggling Void's form. They will allow you passage through the farthest ring. Once you are at the black hole, your companions will provide further details. And you got this from the deities, right? Yes, from Kevin Troveus himself. He has been in consultation with the Dark Gods ever since Maxike's Aquamarine contacted the Commonwealth regarding Thorn and Claire. Another pair of players, or heroes, in your quest. I'm trusting you, Human Frank. Keep an eye on my star system. Goodbye. Initiating spacefold. Space amid the 13 Sisters asteroids that made up the spaceship nursery twisted until the smallest thrust was effectively amplified to extraordinary distances without exerting the normal resistance, thus allowing effectively faster-than-light travel without ever directly violating the speed of causality. The other ships stirred slightly in the wake of their invisible sisters' departure, but quickly returned to their restful growth. And then we insert the header at this point. Yeah, that all looks like it works for a good intermission. And let's see, insert page break. Where was page break? Do I not have page break because I'm in pageless format? That very well might be the case. Then I'll just put that there for now. Act 1, Act 2, Act 2. Briefing continues. Claire, chart plot. Or prompt, Claire, chart plot. Claire lounged on the beach in her one-piece swimsuit under an umbrella. She could have turned down the sun, so she didn't need the shade. But that would change the other lighting conditions. And besides, this fit the theme she was going for. On a scaled-down lounger next to her lay her best friend, a purple bunny plushie she'd programmed when she was about 9, part of her recovery, part of learning to be what she was now, a goddess of her own unreal domain. Unlike Bucky, suntanning under the shade, Claire was looking over various hovering displays. Most of them showed the view and/or statistics of her various robots working all over her ship, the San Palomarta. Heavy construction bots had already done the main work of uncovering the vessel, ripping away the gardens and landscaping that had been cultivated above most of the ship's body. When she'd arrived here, all that had been visible was the command tower, but now it was nearly ready to launch back into space. On another screen, Claire pulled up her plotboard app. She figured everyone should use one, preferably all networked. With all the time travel, paradox loops, and prophecies, it was a good idea to keep track of what you were going to have to fulfill to avoid ending up in a doomed timeline. According to the known events of the plot board, she could see that they were nearly ready to begin entry. According to the auger files... hi, love.
Hi. You didn't do my water for me last night.
I was planning on waking up and doing that with you. And I did not wake up, no.
I didn't think of it until I was prepping to leave. So that was like 10 minutes that I...
Yeah.
I forgot my thermos at the job site.
Oh, no.
Hopefully I'll be back there tomorrow.
Okay.
So...
It's not a one-time job site.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. According to the auger files, that was always the most intense portion of the introductory phase. A lot could go wrong. Which was, of course, why Maxie was trying to keep everyone organized and informed. But Claire had her own sources with additional knowledge. Prompt: Claire, contact the vampire. Claire opened her discordant chat program. Adina Guild, Gothic Elite, Officer Chat. Claire. Johnson, you nearly ready? I should be launching in the next day or two. Pedantic Pundit, PP. Yeah, I'm still... Let's see, I need to increase the size of this for readability. And... Contact the vampire. I'm still fighting through school security, but my team and I should be down in the vault with plenty of time to spare. Yeah, I remember that raid. Are you counting for the shortcuts I told you about? No, don't want to rely on them in case your game distro wasn't quite the same as my reality. And if they are, I'll use the door hack if time gets short. Could use your help in here, you know, if you want to hop back into that succubus body. Already told you, I logged her out in David's Empire. It would take too long to get her to you. Besides, I don't feel safe mixing games. You coming from your game world into sBrier sounds dangerous enough. I shouldn't be messing with things by going into yours from mine. I know you told me already, but for the reader's sake, did you get the stasis capsules? You felt the reader's attention? I'm still a little freaked out by that, but yeah, if the readers are looking at our chat, I did get the stasis capsules. Kevin was pretty clear we'd need them. He said that once I stepped through the mirror, I'd lose my magic, because I'd be in a different universe with different laws of physics. Thanks. Kinda weird that you'll lose your magic, though. No one else seems to be. Or if they are, it's different. Like, Poppy said she lost connection to her goddess, so she can't recharge her spells. Gem magic doesn't seem to be affected, but Respec is losing her main superpower. Haven't heard from others in the future, like Rune and Foxy. Respec told me her client lost access to something called Warframes. Hinted that at some point you might be able to use them. So, I'll just throw that in the nebulous category of your plot board memo. Nice, I see it. My plotboard app auto-scraped the entry from the transtemporal memo and added it. Once we meet up in-game, I'll set up a more direct connection, but this works for now. I even have a cloud-like thought bubble hovering over the rest of the board for things like that. You don't normally explain things you know I already know, so I'm assuming the readers are still on you. I was asked if in a reader QA what my biggest fear was. And I still don't know overall, but my biggest fear about entry is that I might lose my aura sight. My mythological role is the thief of time. Maxi, prompt, class analysis. Claire. Reminder for readers, mythological role is another term for class fact. Thief is a displacement class like rogue, but instead of stealing for others, they steal for themselves. But the aspect of time focuses on understanding the flow of time, rejection of inevitability, repetition, death, and destruction, and, oddly, music. None of the Augur files have that combo, though they do contain speculations about it. PP. What? I thought Maxie didn't know about me yet. She doesn't. That was future Maxie, leaving the readers a prompt. It acts like a bookmark or subchapter, helping subchapter heading to help them find things easier. Now, the analysis. Thief and Time are both very active title components. Time does not hold still. Time does not wait. But Thief's activity tends to be far more subtle and hidden, until finally making a powerful overt act. Not sure why I'm Time. I've never been much of a time-like person, other than being in a band, I guess. Thief of Blood would make more sense for me, since I'm a vampire. And while we're at it, what about you? I am the Scribe of Mist. What little I know about those, scribes write their aspect into existence. We are a crafter class, alongside techs. We can prepare helpful items for the team to use later. Mist is a buggy aspect. Not as bugged as Void, but I'll have to watch out how much I create stuff, which is hard since I'm a crafter class. The game might also have problems identifying me as me at times. Sometimes it thinks I'm everyone, or that everyone is me. Rarely this happens at the same time and gets really fucked up. This is already causing problems. Kalkan mentioned that she tried contacting Reluctant Recluse, but instead my glitch connected her to Thorn, while he was being watched by the readers. We call that a missed connection, or say that something was misdirected. That sort of thing happens a fair bit. It happened to almost everyone at least once. My aspect also screws up the player targeting of game-based abilities, particularly prophecies and scrying, so I'm taking charge on the plot board and trying to corroborate things and identify who the right player is. It's usually right, but we can't afford to be wrong. This means I have to coordinate with our Tactician, Seer and Sage, Cryptical, Mage and Witch, and Explorator, Guide and Scout classes a lot so they can properly support the team, as well as our Light, Doom, Star, and Time players. This will affect the Breaker classes, Rove and Gad, far less, because they don't target players with their scrying. They target aspects of the game itself. Overseer classes, Wiz and Priest, generally target all players at once or none at all, so that is unlikely to be affected by my glitch. Caduceus Clay said that Overseers, Landholds, Duke and Reeve, and Breakers are rare, as are the aspects of Self, Seed, and Peace. But how many players we have? With how many players we have, rare classes and aspects are inevitable. I am inevitable. Yes, you are. Time is one of the two required aspects. Normally, your land would have the scratch used for an emergency reset, but that's not an option for us, so you won't be having your own land this time. Thief is also a common class, but Thief of Time itself is a rare combo. Wonder if you can somehow steal from the rejection of inevitability to create steal from the rejection of inevitability to create inevitability. R/whoosh. Oh, you were making a quote, weren't you? Disney's Marvel? You know, my ship was built by the Blizzard Combine, a megacorp which grew from Disney Activision a few hundred years ago. That's something I'm going to miss. Civcom network access. After we enter the medium, we will still have power and can talk to each other, but no net beyond the session. Guess it's a good thing I downloaded a chunk of the net, so we'll have something. How much did you grab? Only 5 billion petabytes. In your world's terms, about the weekly traffic of Kevin's empire. You... on your one ship? Yeah, our modern data compression is way better than yours. And it helps that those servers are in space. Once I launch, I'll be swapping my current server racks for the newer ones in orbit. I'll leave your world server operational. I know Kevin said your world isn't actually dependent on my hardware, but I'd rather not take that risk. I can't wait to see what your universe's Aetherweb had. Just keep in mind, entering at the same time doesn't mean we show up in-game at the same time. We have players arriving from the same universe thousands of years apart, but they should emerge in the game within weeks of each other. Oh, I gotta go. My calendar just reminded me. I've gotta go contact the Hive. Okay, so that doesn't look like it needs any further edits. Foxy have dinner doesn't need edits. See. So that was the intermission one. Foxy have dinner, Chacat recheck memo. I just worked on all the summoner stuff. Gems assemble. Yeah, that one, I believe, is in good order. Take a wicked flip, be the other troll. Does that one have an ending? Yes, okay. That one's good. Hello, love.
Hello. So you got raided?
Yes.
That's all.
Yep. I believe they're all gone now, but...
Raiders of the Giggling Ark.
Yeah, because I'm down to just you and me as viewers.
But you got attention.
Yep. Oh, no, they say they are lurking.
Indeed.
What do you mean?
So two, right?
I haven't been able to figure out whether it counts yourself watching or not. Okay, so be the flag. Is that ended satisfactorily? Damn, that's heavy. She, me. Yes, let's go. She cracked Calvin's reins on his metallic mane and started up the dusty trail for the castle. Yeah, okay, that one's ended. Be the fox. I mean, yeah, I guess that's right, because an Eevee is a fox Pokemon. And that one ends with her entire gym being taken up into the Pokeball. Be the gargoyle. Fewer numbers are beyond anyone's ability to fathom. Yeah. Let's see. Amphlanymph. Right, I need to restructure these with just the 8N, and these amplas are not supposed to be capitalized. But just most of those are going to be going away anyway. AN. Copy. No, oops. Undo. Copy. Paste. Paste. Thank you, Chris Ryder. Thank you for the follow. Yeah. Follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road. Green-headed snake. Huh?
I said hair, but
I thought that's what I said.
I heard head.
Oh. Yeah, I think I did say headed. I like these two's interaction. Follow the thorny new road. The fan fictioneer guy. Thank you for the follow. This is definitely qualifies as fan fiction. Since it's very much my own personal collision of characters. Steps, tumbles, trips, and fumbles into the chat room from a silver portal. Fanfic's accidental antics end up with him tumbling down some stairs with a duck, blorp, flop, boing, bonk, whop, thump, splat, with a satisfying sound, joining their faceplant into the follow button. So yeah, this one is it's a Homestuck fanfic, kind of. With a bunch of my characters from across lots of other intellectual properties. But they're all going to be going into a game session very much like in Homestuck. Then some interesting stair falling sounds. Well done. Would you like an egg in these trying times? Offers hard-boiled egg. Yes, love. Oh my. That send me that. It looks very familiar.
It's based on you.
Okay.
It's about the best AI I could do.
Right. It's way better than I ever got the AI to make.
It's quite good practice.
Okay. Yeah, let's do this one. Prompt. Be the gargoyle. Wholesome? Huh? Oh, if nobody else has said it, let me say this. Welcome to our little nook and cranny of the writers category. Everybody here is super supportive and very, very wholesome.
Crannies and nooks.
Everyone I know who streams are, so yeah, you qualify by my standards. If you include wholesome lewds, then yeah. Maybe you don't read my words. Wink. Okay. Prompt be the gargoyle. As the sun set over the thick jungle canopy, the dappled light faded below. In a cavern perched on the edges of an ancient Mayan pyramid, several statues looked down upon a dry moat. A single statue flexed its claw fingers, the long serpentine tail moving slowly, small stone shards flecking to the floor before she finally burst free with a mighty roar. Flexing her leather and rainbow-feathered wings, Lily rested against the stone forms of her clan, arms draped over their shoulders. "Good night, my loves." She kissed the statues delicately, each in turn as she said a short prayer invoking their names. And while those names are deeply important to her, they are of no relevance to the story. She slithered up the stairs into the main chamber of her rookery, where her massive computer was set up to monitor what was left of her world. She glanced at each monitor and ran some of them several hours back to points flagged by the AI for her review. Nothing of real note. The scattered tribes of Homo retroensius still hadn't rediscovered fire, and their attle-attle technology barely allowed them to make any ecological impact with their hunting. Even though they would be dead soon, Lily still didn't want any major development of her kids to go undocumented. She checked a message from her troll friend. Calcan. "Yo, Lily! Got some awesome news! Maxie thinks we can save your retrohumans. We'll have to move up the entry timetable a bit. I know you're not scheduled to go in for a few more days, but Black Flag is ready when you are. I'd like to get in first, so hit me up when you wake up." Let's see. Sounds more wholesome than anything I know. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy your time here. I gotta dash to bed. 11 p.m. for me, lol. Bye. Thanks for stopping by, Fanfictioneer.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Safe journeys.
Thank you. Come again.
Thank you. Come again. Let's see. Amphlanymph. AN. Is it wise to advance the timeline? If it was from anyone but Maxie, I'd say no. Now that she's in, she's getting access to even more info than she had to work with before. Your schedule was based on your doomsday clock, but if we get you in soon enough and can stop the Veil, then we can save the proto-people on your planet. And what about your people? Nope. It's not asteroids coming for them. We can't stop their doom without getting me off planet before entry, and it's way past too late for that. Rinmaster said that the tachyon charge in my planet's primary reactor has already started to cascade. Leaving now won't stop it. I prepared a few racks of data grubs full of my neighborhood's memories. So at least I can save those. What of Poppy? I don't know. I hate that I had to take all her memories of her loved ones. I know she's my mate's Frit, and I'd do anything for her, but she doesn't know that yet. I really don't want her to hate me. I don't think I could give her the hatred she'd deserve if we went pitch. You'll have to remind me what pitch is if I'm to be your Mordrail. I always confuse it with Ashen. Pitch is Kismessitude. That's the one where we love-hate our rival. They push us to find our flaws and be better, and the sex is pretty wild and passionate. Ashen is the mediator, the auspicious or facilitator, the dark version of the pale Moira. But I don't want Puppy to love-hate me. I just want her love. A nice, flushed relationship. Her future made it clear she will, but it's hard waiting her for to be the person I already know. Trying not to push her too much. I guess sometimes knowing the future can be painful. Sounds like you are handling a difficult situation well. You know I'm here for you, sister. Now, let's get you into the session. I'm connecting to your client. The enemies should start spawning around your... I don't know what I expected for the look of troll architecture. Your hive block is... interesting. It's based on Sting Beast Nest Tessellation, just a lot bigger. If you were able to see more of the planet, you'd see those everywhere, dotted through the forests. It's the most efficient design for many of us living together without killing each other on a regular basis. My hive block only had 3 murders this year, and 4 lethal duels. The psycho slime coming out of the exterior walls is great for patching up less lethal wounds. So, as long as you don't quite kill them right away, they'll be fine. How much will be coming with you? Only the top floor and up. That's my hive comb and my lab. I guess we'll also get a scaffolding for the rest going down to the ground. That's what happened to Dirk and Dave in the Augur files. The Striders, right? Dirk was cool kid, right? No, that was Dave. Dave was the cool kid. Even had a song by that name. He's so cool, he slashed his own naming box with a ninja sword. So cool. But it's all a facade. A facade that paling works. You know, right up until it doesn't. I'll take your word on that. I've deployed your equipment on the roof. Imps are starting to spawn in from what I assume is the forest. Tall white trees with black and red leaves, where the red grass ends. Sharon is getting most of them to fight each other for now, but she loses more and more control of them with each kernel sprite we prototype. Some of your neighbors are pulling out weapons and fighting them as well. You weren't kidding about how violent your people can be. I thought my ancestors were violent, and they engaged in ritual slave sacrifices. Nope. But we did ban slavery and ritual sacrifice almost 100 cycles ago. We're not as barbaric as Alternian and Beforian trolls. We Afternian trolls try to keep our murderous rages to a minimum. Afternian. As in the trolls that came after the ones that came before? I guess that does work that way. Maybe Troll Terry Pratch was right about the narrative force of the universe. Maybe that's what Maxie's been interacting with. Trolls have a Terry Pratchett. Did he write a Discworld series? Once we're both in, I'll let you borrow my copy of the collected novels of the Oblate Plain Planet, born upon the back of a giant shell beast, containing much magic and intrigue, many betrayals, and planet-rocking intellectual and social revolutions. You know what? The name goes on, but I'll stop there. Most people actually stop when you get to the first comma, and the capitalization calms down, but I already typed it, so I'm not deleting it. Okay, well, you might want to go collect some of the grist your neighbors have been making. Maybe get some kills yourself for the XP, and then I should have your entry item ready. Once my server deploys my stuff, I'll make some of those hearings poppy listed. For now, I made a pair for you as well. They're waiting for you on the roof, but I could bring them down if you want. Oh, and I prototyped the bug Maxie had you set out. Was it poisoned or something? The Leaf Imp's health vials aren't going back up like they had been. Toss down the hearings once I'm out there. My current headset is wired. And yes, the poison counteracts the regeneration that Thugsl's slither critter companion gave them. Lily watched as Kalkan materialized something she could only describe as a military-grade weed whacker from her strife specibus. Descending to the strife on the grounds below, the multiple motorized whips slashed their serrated chains through the remaining snake-like leaf imps. As each snake's health vials emptied, their green metal scales burst into shrapnel that went all but ignored by the horde of bloodthirsty, gray-skinned, yellow and orange-horned trolls. Their own blood, of many colors, spilled upon the red grass from both the imp attacks and the wild flailing of other trolls wielding impractical but cool-looking weapons in close range to each other. Lily couldn't recall what Kalkan had said about the social significance of the various blood colors, but she did remember that Kalkan's violet blood, definitely not purple, marked her as an eccentric, a loyal friend, and prone to rage if belittled. But her information was coming from a biased source. Once she had more build grist, Lily built some stairs for Kalkan to get to her roof quicker, then found and installed the grist torrent. Hey, Lily? Are leaves on your planet green or something? It's paling weird seeing something green labeled as leaf imp. Green is such an inefficient color for photosynthesis. Yes, most plants I know are green. As for photosynthesis, if they were black on our world, the plants would overheat and die. They would take in too much light without getting any break to cool off. It appears your star and sky collude to provide you more light that red leaves can absorb. And without an overheating pressure to select against it, some are black to eke out just a bit more energy. Everything in life is about finding proper balance. Kalkan finished whipping at the green gusher-shaped chunks of leaf grist before running over the corpses of a few neighbors and climbing the stairs. She got up to the roof just as Lily finished placing a gray cruxite totem on the small platform of the silvery alchemitor. Reading it with a red laser, the alchemitor created a gray cruxite statue of a tall troll wearing a stylized vest and a holster with a DL-44 heavy blaster pistol. Really? Troll Harrison Ford? This is his character from Conflict Between Burning Balls of Nuclear Fire. Singular Hand, I think. Han Solo from Star Wars? Sure, whatever. My people's name for it is better. But, oh right, the line. Super famous. Yeah, I got it. Kalkan pulled a strange-looking gun with wires and pulleys coming off at strange angles, like an impossible mix of modern and medieval tech from her bow-type specibus. Aiming the crossbow pistol at the statue, she proudly declared, "McClunky!" before firing and narrowly missing the statue's head as it moved unnaturally out of the way. It then shot her. And Jeffrey Return I worked on last week. Dick Red Alert. That's where I think this is where he installs the cloaking device to enter. Yes. Yeah, their ship is given a new name. Yes, and he makes a magical promise protecting all the exocomps on his ship. Okay. Kitty, attempt escape. Launch escape pod. Put on her paw protection, waited for the sound of Ray disconnecting before stepping on the Cruxite glass. Okay. So she enters there. Claire contacts a hive, which ends with the hive getting hit by an asteroid. Okay. Max likes assemble Shatterthorn. Oh, right. Okay. So the readers don't know that when it happened earlier. That's right. That was intentional. I have it happening and then have it explained here. Start everything. Yeah. Yeah, all of the fun paradoxes. Then Act 1, Intermission 2, which is where we see Star and Max Sykes first meet. And then Star meditate and Max Sykes fret. That's where each of them are debating internally about, what are these improper feelings I'm experiencing for her. See, the narrator expects she is referring to something in her past which we haven't seen yet. Regardless, we leave her to her own devices for now and move on to another portion of the main story. Then Act 4, press enter. These are all still entry. Poppy prototype. Poppy consult the expert. Right, well, entering now. Bye. Okay, yeah. Thorn prepare. Thorn? I don't think I've finished this one. I haven't. Okay. And I think instead of Act 4, this is going to be Act 3, Act 2. And this will be Act 3, Act 1. Yeah. And package delivery. Poppy break the game. So this is where she's using the IntelliBeam laser station to create more copies and set up Runemaster's Nexus as the temple. Rewriting the game. Rune raised the giant mallet, struck a black gong, which Poppy had mistaken as just part of the room. Her eyes went wide as she realized that it was made of black cruxite. Her signal cut as the Nexus entered the medium. She would see him again once she too had entered. Okay. That's good. Dream inspections. Dream inspections. The Yellow Princes floated over the Yellow City holding hands in the most brodacious way they could, without showing just how scared either of them was to their bro. They both knew that if they lost control, they might float beyond the limits of the moon's dream flight, leaving them falling between worlds until one of the other players could rescue them, or until they could wake and fall asleep again. Either prospect would cut into their plans. This risk grew even greater as they went higher and higher to the tallest of the yellow dream spires. Their slight fear only elevated once they set foot on the balcony, and the spire's guards saluted to acknowledge... Oh, only alleviated, not elevated. The guards saluted to acknowledge their arrival. Looking in through the bars, they saw a simple girl's bedroom, with little yellow soccer, bowling, and volleyball trophies, and various video game posters. On the far side of the room was a computer desk with a few college-level textbooks. On the near side, just under the window, sat a woman in yellow pajamas, with her back to them. The human prince leaned in. "Claire, have you entered the game yet?" "Hi." She waved dopily, as if addressing someone in front of her. "That's more than we've gotten from her before," the Draconid prince stated with a sigh, despite his eyebrow ridge rising in curiosity. She looked down at her yellow pajamas and picked lightly at the wiggly parallel lines with a strike through at an angle, sewn over the gold crescent moon embroidery. "Yellow? I look terrible in yellow. Wait, I'm here? I'm on Prospect?" "Not quite, Claire." As she turned to look at the voice, the human prince waved excitedly. "Hi." She rushed over to the barred window, picking up the long ruffled skirts of her jammies, so she didn't trip on them, while stepping over the pile of poofy blankets and stuffed rabbits. "Johnson? Oh, it's so good to see you again. Why am I locked up here? Are you here to break me out?" Johnson gestured to the yellow guard, who nodded in response. "No need to attempt escape. We locked you in here for your safety. When you sleep, your dream body tries to do things, and it's not very bright about it. Your subconscious created a room you would mostly like to spend time in, but sometimes you float off into dangerous territory." Again, Johnson gestured to the yellow guard, indicating the door. "And no, this isn't Prospect. This is Impera, the yellow utopia. Prospect is all crystal and white in this session. And this fine Draconid is Minar." "A pleasure to finally meet you, madame. Johnson has told me a great deal about your previous adventures, but we do need to know if you are entering the game soon. Your lands are awakening, and there is much we have had to wait on till you arrive." "Right. Intel update. Yes, last thing I remember, Fall Guy was helping me in. I launched my ship, swapped server wings in orbit, then left the star system. My entry item... Oh no, it was an EMP. I detonated it on the hull of my ship. I knew I had to, but did it wipe the servers? I had a lot of data on there for us. Where's my ship? Johnson finally got the guard to understand his request to open the royal bedroom. Once Claire emerged, she pointed to the mostly gray planet dominating the sky. He pointed to the mostly gray planet dominating the sky. Your ship is somewhere up there, or will be soon. The area is slowly becoming more yellow. Your player lands... The area is slowly becoming more yellow, our player lands springing to life. One of those lands is where you will wake up. Right now, you can see the land under sea and shields, and the land of dust and circuitry. Given this game's sense of irony, yours could be either Lucis or Ludak. I'm pretty sure Deviate's land is on the other side of the planet, right next to what was probably mine. The land of blood rain and cauldrons. If we hadn't been able to alchemize blood beans early, I'd have starved. What is especially strange is that 3 lands are growing on yellow. But we have only located 2 yellow royalty, besides us, of course. You and Deviate. Could it be misidentifying someone's land? I don't think so. This process looks very well coded against misdirection. While land generation itself is pretty buggy, the initial blooming has tons of redundant checks. Oh, yeah, my Aura site lets me see into code, and I've been studying these gray planets for almost 2 years now. And there is a 5th dream spire. It just doesn't have a bedroom. 2 years? I know I should be used to these time shenanigans, but I literally just saw you wave goodbye to your friends in the vault an hour ago. Yeah, for me, that was 4 years ago, sort of. Time flows separately for each dream person, so some of us have spent more time in the years since we arrived. I'm sure Void has an accurate chronometer. I wouldn't be so confident in that. He's straddling the same temporal reach around we are. I'm sorry, what? He talks like that sometimes. His people view time as a physical spiral rather than a line. Always moving forward, but always repeating. He means that Void, and all of us who've been waiting, are caught between 2 temporalities. And not just because of dreamtime weirdness. Our waking selves are stuck just on the border of this realm, unable to enter. We are stranded in a realm where space and time hold little truth, but are in fact reality itself. I cannot explain. There is little we can do existing in such a state. So we dream. We live here, in our various dream cities. Though, as dreams, we are also limited, and without any active lands, and the battlefield still in an unprepared state, we have been further limited in preparations we could make for your arrival. Yeah, we've mastered all the city quests they will let us do, but without any enemies, we haven't even been able to level up that much. The dream quests don't award that much XP when repeated. Why aren't there any enemies? The enemies are underlings of the denizens. Your denizen only spawns when you release your kernel sprite. We never did. No denizen, no underlings, no land quests, no prototyping to empower the enemies, and no penalty to battlefield prep. A normal battlefield needs a minimum of 4 pre-entry prototype spirits to fully mature, but any unprototyped sprites entering corrupts its data. Since we never spawned ours, they can't corrupt the battlefield when we finally enter. Can't get the advantage without the disadvantages. But Chakat said it's going to be worth it. Johnson, you're starting to explain things I already know. Are you feeling the gaze of the readers? Oh, they are here. It feels different in my dream self. Yep, second time I felt them. Was that the readers I felt at the observatory when we first saw the land's awakening? Johnson nodded. Wasn't as disturbing as I anticipated. Isn't. Though, I suppose, readers, I should introduce myself. He placed his hand on the Triskelion hurricane symbol on his chest and attempted to bow in a direction you might be looking from. But this being text, there isn't such a direction. I am Minar Nori Dracanos, Corsair of Draconia, Yellow Prince of Empira, and Guide of Might. Flexing, he expanded his upper body, arms, and wings to twice their previous size. I am the might of the roaring ocean. I am so mighty, we should upgrade me to shall. Minar, that joke only works in English legalese, from a subset of Earths. Yeah, but if we all get it, it still works, right? Sure, but the readers are still here. Linguistic jokes translate even worse than industry jargon. This story is already going to be a bitch to translate. I doubt anyone would bother. We speak in colored text with individualized fonts. Translating between document hosting services will be hard enough. I can't even imagine trying to make this available in print. Ugh. Oh, I thought you were commenting on what I said. Back on topic, if we could. We still have a missing princeling. And, what else is of importance? Once you settle in, we should introduce you to the Yellow Council. Empira doesn't have a queen, which sometimes glitches NPC dialogue. We have a ruling body that tries to decide things based on what is best for everyone. Like the Commonwealth, good. Or, you're grimacing. Is it the annoying type instead? All the Dream City governments are the annoying types. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that being the ending of that chapter. Prompt. Poppy prototype. The little goblin huffed in frustration as she cut her jets and landed on top of the alchemization station's amplifying arm. She cursed up to the Colonel sprite floating high up in the void above. She never expected she would be wishing for the old confines of her pocket dimension, but this recalcitrant ally needed some limits. She looked down to the clear sphere in her hands, double-checking that the perfectly pristine plexiglass persisted pleasantly. Performing the prototype plan properly would make every underling who manifested this feature act as a crystal ball for any scrying purposes. It was pretty important that she get this prototype right, and keep the crystal as clear as possible to prevent interference in their scrying. As the team's physical limit breaker, she would benefit from being able to take a better look at the enemy's stats. The tacticians and crypticals would be able to track enemy activity throughout the game, primarily in terms of active spawning zones. Unfortunately, without her hands free, she couldn't control the directional thrusters well on her rocket pack. For the 5th time, she held out the orb and launched, trying to hit the Colonel. Just as she was within her short arm's reach of the Colonel, a face appeared from the void. It cried softly, "Bastion, say my name!" Poppy whirled around to avoid hitting the childlike human face. The pale skin topped with brown hair, pinned down by a 4-part diadem with a pearl on her forehead. The face blinked softly. "Oh, I'm calling out into the wrong timeless void. I felt the readers here, but they aren't the ones who I need to give me my name to save Fantasia." Poppy looked back in confusion. "Who are you?" "I'm the childlike Empress of Fantasia, and I need my reader, Bastion, to stop listening to his father and embrace his imagination. He needs to name me after his hippie mother, Moonchild." Okay, so your reader is conflicted between his parents' life views, and your story is trying to help him embrace part of himself he's been suppressing? That kind of thing tends to cause depression. "That is why the nothing has consumed my world, and will soon consume me. But time in my timeless void only progresses when Bastion is reading. I think he's hiding under a blanket in a thunderstorm right now. Speaking of things and nothings, there is a something behind you, very interested in your backpack." Poppy tried to spin around to see. The orb dropped from her hands, throwing off her weight and balance. The thrust of the rocket spun her wildly. Seeing she was about to hit the colonel, she cut the straps and cast her featherfall spell. Without her weight, the rocket spiraled up, narrowly missing the colonel sprite. That was way too close. I do not want to see what our enemies would do with that. As she slowly descended, the childlike Empress's face followed. "You may still find out. That something appears to be chasing your errant pack." The face vanished in shock as she attempted to preserve her PG rating. Poppy considered shooting the pack, but then she might hit the colonel, and the thought of her enemies being empowered by the concept of twilight arrows or flaming sword arrows was even less appealing. Not that she had much time to decide. The chaotic orb and the chaotic spiraling rocket soon intersected paths in a flash of green and purple. It formed a disk that quickly flew down to her, hovering just over her shoulder, out of reach. "Oh, now you calm down and hang around?" She looked down to the orb on the ground, expecting to see a shattered mess below, but it was whole and unblemished. Dang it, I dropped. That's my butt.
Uh-huh.
I accidentally removed the end bit on my earpiece. I've been fiddling with it too much. Meow. Let's see. And I just realized my mic's been up the whole time. Let's see. But it was whole and unblemished. Knowing its fragility from her multiple attempts to alchemize it, she pondered aloud. If the floor is made of nothing, does falling on nothing cause no damage? She waited until she was low enough that she wouldn't seriously hurt herself, but high enough to test for pain, then cut off the slow fall spell. Nothing. Landing on nothing caused nothing. That could be helpful. She tried to figure out how to alchemize nothing, but kept producing little blue boxes called perfectly generic objects. She was always surprised when she saw them, but wasn't sure why. Prompt. Poppy, consult the expert. Poppy. Hey, I hear you are the tech of V-oid, or V-id. I'm the Robe of Sight, and I found something that might be really useful to exploit, but I'm not sure how to collect it. It's a knotting, so maybe you'd know? Dee Dee. Best for other players to minimize how much you discuss my aspect. It can glitch the text into an unreadable mess. My aspect does not like to be known. But go ahead and alchemize the Capturoid camera. I listed in the code memo. Then take a picture of the nothing and send me the code. Okay, it made a blank capture card, but it does have a code. I just can't read it. That means this nothing is pretty complicated. Have your server deploy the IntelliBeam laser station and read the card that way. She already deployed it, but I thought that was for reading the sBrier game disk to start up the paradox. I'm sorry, for what? Rune had me do that as my first task of breaking the game. Okay, well, you are a breaker class. I guess you can do that where we couldn't. Normally that's only possible for someone suffering extreme corruption. The Dark Gods promised they won't try to corrupt our game. Any corruption we gain will be our own doing. Not sure if that promise applies to angel corruption, too. I scanned the card, posting the code. Yes, this is a very interesting bit of nothing you found. Timeless, solid, no collision damage, no pushback at all. Don't see any way to destroy it with regular physics, since it just cancels inertia. Alchemizing it into other objects is a mixed bag I'll have to experiment with. Since you found it, what do you want to call it? And instead of naming it directly, what do you want to call this property we can apply to things? Naming things has never been a strong suit of mine. I named myself after the name I gave a sailor whose eye I popped out. Have me name things and we might have like 30 different popiums and popites. Alright, well, think about it. For now, I'll just label this picture as a popic floor. How did you know I took a picture of the floor? It's only solid from the top. Also, it's not affected by gravity, so if you... I was going to say place it, but this stuff is unmovable once deployed. You can recapture it to deploy it somewhere else. It takes volume, but has no mass. This would make for good platforms. You can enter from below, but can't go back down. You could use it for testing physics-based abilities without fear of terrain destruction. Can you try getting capturoids of the walls and ceiling, too? Tried earlier. Those aren't making cards. Apparently taking a picture of my kernel sprite just made a ghost image of the rocket pack it prototyped with. I take it that was an accident. Or is this another game break thing? My fucking sprite chased the rocket pack. Tried to prototype with me in it. Narrowly avoided that BS. There are safeguards that prevent player prototyping, at least. While you are still... prevent player prototyping. At least while you are still alive. No comma there. Just as you can't prototype your game equipment. Imagine an all-in-one alchemization station sprite. It would make anything you asked for, assuming you had the grist. Be a wonder if someone figured out how to do something like that. Instead of think that's a winky face with a tongue out. Comes through weird with the font I'm using. What is that code? That was supposed to be me sticking my tongue out and winking, but it doesn't look right in my fancy font. It's a bit abstract. Abstruse? Well, that sounds like a good name for your nothing floor. An abstruse platform. Items crafted with it would have the abstruse property? Yeah, sure. Works well enough for me. Glad I could add to your inventory of nothings to work with. I suppose I've been stalling long enough. I should alchemize my entry item. I've got my totem ready. Your totem? One more moment of stalling, if you will. I'd recommend following Retrospector's guide in assembling the all-in-one. Streamlines optimization and provides extra tools to refine your crafting. It also takes up less space. Not that space is much of a concern in your pocket dimension, but when we don't know what will happen to that, we don't know what will happen to that when you enter the game. Noted. I'll see you in the game then. Probably not. I won't be meeting many of you in person. Not until the end. But I'll see you, and you'll see a lot of what I do. I'll be basically invisible most of the session. Feel free to say hi through any of my minions you encounter, though. I'm trying to redesign them to be more obviously mine, so you won't confuse them as being enemies. My Hydralisk's blades may be delightfully intimidating, but that's not even their scariest weapons. Right. Well, entering now. Bye. Let's see. Thorn. Prompt. Thorn, prepare. Thorn's shuttle touched down on a landing pad built over a waterfall. The large single-family house registered as having considerable amenities, despite having been abandoned decades previous. Most likely, someone from the Commonwealth had come and prepared it, restocking supplies since this was now registered as a residence. Or maybe it was the group Star had contacted. The same ones who provided the shuttle. Yeah, that made more sense. He left the shuttle and walked into the house, her phone's AI uploading and taking over the old computer with ease. Pulling out a manila folder, Thorn put the pair of CDs into the house's data analysis chamber, which started both installations simultaneously. He thought about what he'd read on the way over and focused on the refrigerator door. Thinking of needing to eat to keep up her physical strength, he suddenly felt the bonds of space folding to her whims as the food inside was now within easy reach, via a small portal in the air. A voice came over the speakers. I see you're learning your basic abilities. As soon as your installation completes, I'll start editing your house. You should contact Fall Guy and do the same. Is it true that you're the doctor's daughter? That depends on how you define it. I'm Jenny Doctor. I'm technically a clone of the Doctor in his 10th incarnation. Well, technically his 11th. Right, because of the War Doctor. When he didn't feel he deserved the name. The thing is, you are sort of a religious icon in my world. I was raised in the Church of the Mainframe as a child, converted to the Church of the Companion in my teens. In both, I was raised to venerate and practice the Doctor's ideals, with differing focuses. We all know you're fictional, but, well, here you are, helping me help you save the day again. And as you said when you left Messaline, we've got an awful lot of running to do. So, thank you, Jenny. You've been a lifelong inspiration to me. I just wish I'd done more with it up till now. Jenny sounded dumbfounded. I really don't know what to say to that. Not used to people really knowing me as anything special. Dad tends to keep all the heat on him with his big flashy stunts, like the Medusa Cascade, taking down the Vampire Imperium, or saving the Galactic Emperor from Cybermen. I've never done anything so big in public. Mostly covert action, aiding movements, saving people without them knowing. Simple fact is, if I do anything too big, Dad will find out I'm alive, and then he won't be able to do what he needs to do. He'd be too caught up trying to keep me safe. So, it's best if he never knows. River promised she'd never tell him. Never tell him. As did the TARDIS when I met her. Thorne stepped out onto the balcony and looked down across the atoll island from the house's raised position on the singular mountainside. Mentally divided between what he wanted to keep asking and the odd sense that this world would make a poor homestead, he pressed on with her religious question. Met the TARDIS? As in her human form? Like in the episode The Doctor's Wife? As the installation completed, Jenny started moving her cursor around the island, testing the limits to find how much of it would be coming into the session. Wow, I thought Max and Fall were bringing huge plots. This may be the most of anyone. Oh, right, Forge and Temple, since you're the space player. A human form? No, I face the heart of the TARDIS directly, and I'm not going to know episode titles. I've never watched your scripture. To me, it's just been my father's life. I try to keep tabs on him, mainly so I don't run into him. Ah. Like Bonfell Foch Haslamir de Slovene did in Boomtown. Oh, really? Is that how she was reborn? She never told me how it happened. Wait, what? Is that how she was reborn? I might need to add more context there. Let's put an editor note. TK. What did she do to be reborn? Okay. Oh, really? Is that how she was reborn? She never told me how it happened. I worked with her a bit in her new life. Margaret Agchrist, the Therur Ford, adopted into the Jingathene. Still use that human suit I left with her. Yeah, I left with her. Oh! No. No, that still doesn't make sense. Just like did in Boomtown. No, I need to add more context. I can't remember what I was researching at that time. Still use that human suit I left with her. She became a detective inspector for the Shadow Proclamation. Not my sort of organization, but I work with them from time to time, when they're in the right. You speak as though you are the Doctor. Because I am, or was. That was before the quick cloning, so I've as much claim to those memories as Dad does. Anyway, the installations are both complete. You should help Fall Guy get in while I build up your new house. You'll want to get through your first spirograph as fast as you can. The various pieces of equipment all materialized, and she expertly assembled them into the one in all.
Good morning.
Or the all-in-one. You should probably do some alchemizing. Since you're a knight, you should make some armor. Figure out what specify you start with and make some of those. Poppy sent the code for an inventory fetch modus. That one would probably work best for you, unless you want to weaponize it directly. Then she also made a toggled array that she's calling the repeat caster modus. Let's see. It's 15 now. Been going for, what's that? 2 hours? Wow, only 2 hours. Feels like it's been longer. Alright. So, what does Thorn need to do at this point? Yeah. Indeed. Okay. So, I don't know how much is going to be quote-unquote on camera for Thorn's entry. Because we've done so many entries, I think there's a lot that can be assumed still. I would like Thorn to decide on a fetch modus. Because I don't know if they're going inventory, repeat caster, or one of the others. And at first, Thorn is going to go... Thorn doesn't have weapon training. And that's going to frustrate Thorn a lot. Because Thorn feels like, as a knight of space, you should really, be focusing on weapons and armor. Which is correct. But doesn't know how. In the original comic, their knight was using a lot of fetch modus shenanigans to win fights, launching items out of their fetch modus. But I don't really want that to be how Thorn does it, so I think inventory would be right. Thorn has a history of gaming, so inventory would make more sense to them. Yeah. See, we've already covered the size of the island. That so much of it is coming with them because it includes the forge and the original temple. Which this is the same temple that Lily is in, the Mayan temple that she uses for her rookery. They just need to send it into the future. Let's see, I need to decide whether or not their lotus actually works for sending things through time, since the temple is disabled. I think it should, but probably be glitchy. because the connection's broken. Let's see. Glitchy Lotus connection. The forge is the island's volcano. And while Jenny mentioned the forge being here, I don't know, Thorn doesn't know it's a volcano. Thorn doesn't know the mountain is a volcano. Slash forge. Let's see. Yeah, see, Thorn should be experimenting more with the Knight of Space abilities, making portals and things like that. It's probably not until creatures start appearing that Thorn begins figuring out how to make the portals into weapons. Ooh. Long fall boots from the Portal franchise. Yes. Although those might need to come later, because I think Thorn is going to need to suffer with the fear of causing themselves to fall too much. Eventually they'll get the long fall boots to prevent that. Probably won't be in this chapter. Yeah, that'll have to happen after entry, which is the... Oh, I don't have a link to that. Hello! Welcome, Raiders! Let's see... L3 Eat 5? Lee Eats? Hi! Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. I've been working on my Homestuck story with characters from a lot of different franchises. And how was your stream? Oh, Beats. Okay, I see that now. Yeah? Let's see. Although you're probably in ads. Maybe? I don't remember. I know whenever I've streamed, it always sends me to ads first. So I don't hear them thanking my initial arrival. Like, I usually come in just halfway through the thanks or whatever. So, yes, thank you, Beats or Leets. For the raid. Let's see. And what has Beats been up to? Looks like they just did day 10 of making GL Cyberpunk Fantasy with Zombies novel. Listening to Jet Set Radio Live. Rapid 99 stations. Cool. I go by Beats, a part-time streamer who streams stuff in my panels below. 29-year-old crossdresser, okay, who streams Bionicle mock making, Cyberpunk 2077, bit of solo games, IRL building at times, also do music at times. My streams are laid back and carefree, so you are welcome here. Awesome. That is very awesome. Alrighty. And hey, Thorny in chat, be right back. Okay. And let's see. So what else? Thorny. Are there any more things that Thorny would have to ask of Jenny? Because Jenny's kind of a religious icon to him. Yeah. And they've already discussed that a bit. Because part of what Thorn represents in this aspect is my own past when I was still religious. There's a couple characters that kind of represent that. Let's see, Church was the main frame, yeah. Address that. I still can't remember. Like Bon Felfetch Parasim de Celine did in Boomtown. Try to keep tabs on him, mainly so I don't run into him. Let's see. Roxacorticophalopatorian, member of the Celine family. Which one was Boomtown? Right, that was the one where she was Bon Felpach Parasim de Slovene was trying to blow up the city of Cardiff using the rift above Torchwood 3. But the Doctor watched that happen, didn't he?
I promise you I've changed. Because once in a while, Doctor.
No, not that one. Whoops.
It's the extrapolator. I've disconnected it, but it's still feeding off the engine. It's you. Stop it! Never mind, Cardiff. It's gonna rip open the planet.
What is it? What's happening?
Oh, just little me.
One wrong move and she snaps like a promise.
I might have known.
I've had you bleating all night, poor baby. Now shut it. You, fly.
Let's see. So this particular bit source material is from Doctor Who. And yeah, he definitely watched her look into the heart of the TARDIS and be transformed into an egg. And so I was just trying to figure out why I had worded it this way. Oh, really? Is that how she was reborn? But that doesn't make any sense because she has the memories of when he watched her be reborn. I think this is from a different version of when I was writing this scene. So I'm getting rid of that. Let's see. Let's see. Yes. Just get rid of that entire reborn phrase. I actually worked with her a bit in her new life. Margaret Agnes Thoreau Ford, adopted into the Jenga theme. Yep. And technically that section about her being adopted and becoming a detective inspector for the Shadow Proclamation is from the Doctor Who comics. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. A bit of crossing source materials. We've got Doctor Who, got my own writings, so there's no way you could be expected to be familiar with that source material. And Homestuck are all in this chapter alone. Earlier, we've already covered somebody from Disney's Gargoyles. We skipped over somebody from Star Trek. Got some people from a few different RPG systems. Like the Goblin is from D&D. And of course, she was talking with the childlike Empress from Fantasia. Dee Dee, who she talked with, was from a crossover I wrote between StarCraft and Treasure Planet. That gets weird. Because Dee Dee is basically a Zerg Cerebrit from StarCraft, but her universe is mostly that of the video games following the Treasure Planet movie. Then Black Flag is from a novel that I was writing at university with my creative writing guild. The name of the novel is just The Black Flag. We never ended up publishing that, but the character is still a very deep part of me. The Hive is another being from my own writings that I eventually do want to publish. Yeah, we can get a roll call of most of the characters. Deviate is a humanoid Eevee. She is a Pokemon trainer herself. Elegant Onlooker is a she's a mouse person, really tiny, and she tends to swear in Vietnamese. Maxie is Max Ike's Aquamarine is a gem from Steven Universe, as is Sphalerite or Fall Guy and Star Spinel, as well as Lydian and their fusion Red Jasper. Let's see. Home Gang Hero is my persona from when I first got into the furry community. Chicat Thornbriar. Foxy, also known as Shame of Thunder and Glass, is from the Rifts RPG by Palladium Games. Pabald, aka Jeffrey or the Summoner. He's from a story that I wrote called the Federal Super Academy. Tangentially set in the Girl Power universe. Yeah, I've got a lot of characters. I have a big spreadsheet to keep track of them. 40 entries, but some of them are kind of duplicates, because some of them are fusions of other characters. Some of them are other forms that the character has. So there's like at least 34, 36 main characters. It's a bit of an insane project that I've been working on for, whatever year it was that Flash ended. When was that? When did Flash end? Not the Flash show. Flash player. December 31st of 2020. Okay. So, yeah. I've been working on this since then. Because the summer before that, I decided to binge read all of Homestuck before the Flash player was no longer allowed usable. Now they've put all of Homestuck on YouTube, basically. Got a bunch of groups working on voice acting, reading the whole comic, and others, just streamers, have read the whole thing, played through various portions of it, so that you can get some of that experience of what it used to be. And of course, one of the big things of what Homestuck used to be was the very active community, interacting with all the people, who were all trying to figure out what was happening and what was coming next. But that was a long time ago. what other things about Thorn are relevant here? Which one? Where's Thorn? There's Thorn. Okay. Alas for the passage of time, indeed. Thorn is a knight of space. On a Mormon homestead. Entry item is going to be a portal gun. Right. Helped in... All right. Their server is Jenny, and their client is Sphalerite. I have mentioned that. Haven't really shown it yet. But I think we can carry that over. We can count that, because it's been said. See, notes. Replaces the TH with the thorn symbol. Yep. See. And what about Thorn's planet? Anything of relevance we can draw from there? Commonwealth, Yellow Council, good for all, Impera. Land under sand and shields. Well, that will have lion dancers. And I haven't chosen what their followers will get. Their followers are going to get something based on the fact that it was a portal gun used to make them. Can they make portals? Are they portals? Are they portalable surfaces? No, that doesn't make sense. We've got several that are already scientists. I don't really want to duplicate that. Pockets of holding? Lion dancers that gain pockets of holding. That might work. Yeah, because the consorts usually don't have any inventory space. Portal pockets with a fixed destination. Yeah. I think I like that, especially since it's good for all. If they portal pocket to a communal storage, that would make sense. It's a small thing until you pull out a frozen ready meal in a survival situation. Yeah. So one of my things that I intend to be much later in the story, which is when the followers start becoming a big deal, is when they start the game, they assume that the goal is the same as it was in the comic book, which is that the battlefield is presented like a chessboard. What they're going to find over time and realize is it's not a chessboard. It's Chinese checkers. The objective is not to destroy the other people on the board. The objective is to work together to get everybody to cross the entire board. And because all of the different moons and the different follower groups have very different governmental and ideological standpoints, organizing them all to cooperate is going to be extremely difficult. See, it would take a survival situation to make Michelina's entrees palatable. Herding cats, yup. Yeah. A couple of them, it will be really easy to get the people to do it once you convince their leaders. The Black Moon of Durst, you convince the Black Queen, and the people will obey. The White Moon of Prospect, convince the White Queen, the people will obey. The Yellow Council, which tries to do good for all, they are the insufferable, infuriating council government style where it's like you can tell everything they're trying to do is what they think is for the best, but they're so insufferable about it and keep making very wrong assessments of information. So our players are going to have to bring themselves into power. See, unfortunately, the frozen ready meals that would most readily fit through a pocket. Ah, that's why the Michelina. Okay, yeah. Let's see, group survival. That's going to be, that one and the anarchy are going to be more like herding cats. Conventional Congress is going to come down to getting all of the players to agree to vote for it, or enough of the players to agree to vote for it. And they're going to be having their own disagreements in what their objectives are. Oh, my brain rabbit holes all the time too. I totally get it. My rabbit holes have a tendency of showing up in my stories. Let's see, there's let's see. Yeah, like in this chapter. Prompt, Max Sykes be coronated. You see the elegant gem in her room again. She looks to the readers. As you can see, time is a bit of a flexible thing here, but not infinite. If you are ready to be serious, then let us away to White's Palace. Feeling no opposition, Max Sykes shifts her form slightly into a more ball gown look with elaborate frills and dangling cuffs before stepping up to a small warp pad. She pretended to take a breath, as if summoning up inner reserves of courage before the beam of light whisked her away. She appeared in a gargantuan white stone palace with millions of gems watching her arrival. Max Sykes looked around and noticed that a small percentage of the audience were giant fusions of multiple gems. The trend was spreading, but it still wasn't popular. She waited a moment more for a purple star spinel to appear on the pad next to her own. Max Sykes had to hold in a slight giggle upon seeing her spindly friend so gussied up, rather than being in her typical warrior princess look, modeled on Roman soldiers and gladiators. Star still wore her Tyrian purple military lacerna, pinned to her left shoulder by a fibula, designed to look like a small shield, with segments symbolizing all four courts. The elegant cape covered her shoulders and went down to about knee-high down the back and on its longer right side, leaving most of her left arm unobstructed. Yeah, just to say with the rabbit holing, I was going into the details of cape design through history. How do... and I think... Let's see, did I have another place I had the Lacerna? Star's Lacerna lengthened to her ankles, gained a more elaborate trim, becoming an imperial paludamentum. Maxie's sandy gloves gained a purple inlay of claw marks, as if a bear attack had scarred her lower arms, while gaining a wide decorative collar, or mantle, that extended to the ends of her shoulders, from which sprang a long white tilmatli cape, with a pattern of red, yellow, blue, and white diamonds. So the tilmatli cape is used by, I think it was the Incan peoples? Let's see, Aztec. Yeah, tilmatli was a type of outer garment worn by men as a cloak or cape, documented from the late post-classic and early colonial eras among the Aztec and other peoples of central Mexico. Which is why her official title on her moon is the Aha, which is like a large regional chief. Whereas Star has a paludamentum, which was worn by military commanders, and eventually became the clothing worn only by the emperor. Let's see. I spent much time today debating ways to translate merfolk, specifically the species in my world, which is cephalopodic, into Latin. Yeah. Yeah, especially on my Harry Potter related stuff, I do a lot of Latin digging. Trying to craft the perfect spell. My mortal. Find Hermione. The author of those works didn't bother. Why should you? Because part of the whole point of why I was writing My Mortal was as a critique and love letter and trying to correct JK on a bunch of her bullshit. And then when she turned out to be so much of a Sue happy and anti-trans freak, I was just like, okay, I can't keep writing this. And I ended up pivoting it in a very different direction. Let's see. I think it was let's see. Hermione lifted her wand at where Ron's pocket had once been. Papyrum Repario. No? Too general. Papyrum Repario de Incendio. Papyrum Repario de Sacrum. With that final version, green particles flowed through the air and reformed into ornate pentagons. The smiling and stoic faces each looked into unseen distances. So we have that she tried to repair the paper just generally, wasn't specific enough. Tried to repair it from fire, incendio, but it wasn't fire. So tried to repair it from dissolving, which is sacrum. Yeah. Lost cause, which is why I gave up. I do plan to eventually post what I have already written on AO3, but I'm no longer planning to keep writing the whole thing. That's not from in the sense you need. Oh, it's not? The day. Try ab? Okay. Let's see. Copy. Latin to English. Papyrus repair from the century? Let's see. Ab. Day is of or pertaining to. Google is terrible at Latin. Yeah. Not surprised. Yeah. I am definitely fine with that alteration. Thank you. Yeah, so my main character in this story is Caleb. He is a trans wizard vampire. See, I am back. My best friend called me. I am Beats. Indeed, I read your profile, Beats, and very much welcome. Correct. He wasn't assigned wizard at birth. He was assigned muggle female at birth. Wasn't identified until much later. Let's see, how does one get affirming care as a trans wizard? So what most characters in this world that I was writing would do is they would use various transformation magics. They would just transform themselves and just live that way, and everybody is fine with that in their society. But being a vampire, most of those are not going to work because of the half-dead nature of their flesh and magic working differently on vampire flesh. So Caleb is having to find other ways of dealing with it. His adoptive mother has sewn him a kind of a pocket binder to wear. Making it so his chest can feel flat. See, but if one doesn't have assigned magic, how do you have magic to transform into wizard? So this is an old project we got talking about. We were talking about how we rabbit hole, and I was bringing up the Latin that I was using for some of the spells in this old story. The magical transition is not the only valid transition. Indeed. Which is part of why he's using a binder. And I hadn't gotten to the point where they actually get into the school much yet. I think the last chapter I was working on, they were about to go into the meal hall to be assigned their houses. Yeah, I wrote a new Sorting Hat song. Well, mostly took the existing one and added stuff relevant to my story. Because one of the big assumptions in this story is that the events of the play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, actually happened. And except that they weren't able to stop the main villain of the play. So this is a very different timeline. Harry's parents are still alive is a major difference, and Voldemort was never defeated. And there's another big witch to worry about, the augury. But that's not super relevant. I'm not continuing writing this story. The sorting Plinko board would be interesting. Yeah, I was trying to do a lot of footnotes things, referencing mostly the Super Carlin Brothers videos and how they analyzed things. And a bunch of other community analyses. But yeah, as I said, I'm not going to be continuing this novel because she's so Sue happy. And unlike my original plans for writing this, I was going to be presenting her as wrong and misguided, but still on our side, and she has stepped way past that. See, you have to assume everybody would try to cheat with the most desirable newcomers. Let them blink, blink, blink. So instead, I took some of my original plans for this story and made it into let's see, Stellar Empires. Yeah, this was another story that I took the base concept of what I was writing in that Harry Potter story and imported it a lot into this new Stellar Empire story, but divorcing it of all of the background of being Harry Potter. So we're still dealing with a trans wizard vampire, but now they're starting on a quarantined planet in a stellar empire, and they're going to be followed around by a somebody who believes that this whole world is a MMO. And our main character, Johnson, who's the replacement for Caleb, she believes that Johnson is her quest giver. And it turns out she's right. And so part of the new dichotomy in Stellar Empires is discussing the concept of whether or not it matters if our universe is a simulation. Because whether it's a simulation or not, this reality still matters to all the people who are living in it. So, yeah, to Claire's perspective, it's just a game. Blowing up a bunch of people with a rocket launcher doesn't matter. And Johnson is like, what are you doing? Those are people who have lives! Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. One of the reasons my god Ignis is such a jerk is that he doesn't believe the world he helped create is real. Ah. Yeah, exactly that kind of dichotomy. Whereas the god of this empire, Kevin Troveus, he's kind of like, well, first off, he's a lion-headed rock and roll god. So he's like, dude, come on. I wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for this empire. And your people who wanted to make the game more interesting. All these people would still be under the rule of, my stupid brother David. The other three do understand it is real, though Air has a tendency to treat Air people as pets. Treat Air people as pets, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Most of my deities are definitely on the more good side. Even other than David, who's designed to be the antagonist and is just general jerk. Kind of what common depictions show of Ares. Massive war god, just cares about bloodshed and his own ego. Let's see. Also, if you run into a male elf, he's technically trans. So are the females. Interesting. A lot of my stories deal with alternate societal sexualities. So, in the first world that I made Kevin Troveus for, they have many multi-sexed species and even let's see, Mr. Shadow Paradox, thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. So yeah, the race that, or species that Kevin Troveus made on Shulma are the Cardani people, who are a bunch of hyena men. They have only one sex, but they do have 3 societal genders. Then there's the Shozi people, who are all hermaphroditic, but have 4 distinct sexes that are all very, we would say dimorphic, but it would actually be quadmorphic, I guess. Yeah, very different body plans. Let's see. And I've got a couple of those characters in my sBrier story. One of my gems, Fall Guy, Sphalerite. Well, gems have always been portrayed as female, but Fall is like, I'm male. And I'm gay. I'm a flaming homosexual. That's a huge part of Fall Guy's identity. See, the children of Air are assigned non-binary at birth, though he wasn't actually skilled enough to make a species without bisexual reproduction. Okay. That makes sense. In my longest novel I've ever written, still haven't published, but it's at 48 chapters, I think, now. They're the Snertians. In their child form, they don't have a sex, and it's not until they take on their adult body that they choose what to be. So female, male, and periens, feminens are different constructs. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. That is awesome, Anxes. My brain is caught in a very weird space of going everywhere and also feeling like my gears are grinding to a halt. And lots of happy to hear other authors working on similar concepts as what I write. So thank you very much, Anxes. Oh, I'm crying. Elf kids are not trusted to identify their gender until they're at least 64, which is still before puberty. Secondary sexual characteristics generally develop in alignment with gender, though primary sexual characteristics and reproductive anatomy are set before birth. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. Interesting. Yeah. Suddenly have me remembering one of my old stories. Selfish love? Yeah, a wild, selfish love. Three-page short story. A wild, selfish love. The light was low in the cave, the artificial lights flickering against the wall. A long serpentine body pushed itself up against the other walls, further standing on edge as the biped stood with a primitive spear, wafting the scent of a dozen creatures' blood before her nose and tongue. Both of them knew he was no match for her, even with his pointy stick. While her upper body was smaller than his, the fangs in her maw, the claws at the ends of her forehands, and the needles running down her 60 or so feet of spine would all more than make up for any difference in upper body strength. See, transgender humans have a harder time since Parian humans will develop facial hair and other such traits, even if they're women. Indeed. Yeah, I know, I hate mine. Love to get it all lasered. Blue Star Onto slithered toward her target on the far side of the room as the nearly hairless biped whooped and hollered in his language, threatening her with the stick. She had never been good at reading human emotions, but it wasn't hard to tell that he was frightened and probably angry. Blue looked to the other biped in the room, the feline laying bound in tight blankets. The smell of her fear and blood had been so pervasive, Blue Star had been able to smell it several miles off. Blue had followed her scent to the cave, and thought the human had been keeping her captive. But now she saw he'd been trying to take care of the Naku. They must have been living here for months, alone together. The poor girl. It was time to end her suffering. Blue leaned down and lifted the Shozi Naku's small body and opened her maw, detaching it and swallowed the Naku. Enraged, the human stabbed repeatedly at Blue, one of the jabs piercing the shoulder of a lower arm. She grabbed the stick with the other hands and used her tail body to trip him as the large bulge of the Naku's body descended into her lower body, allowing her rib cage to return to normal. She rummaged around the human's camp until she found a tablet, while she pulled the medical supplies toward the human and gestured to her shoulder. Finding the tablet's translation program, she asked, "Tell me, human, what happened to your mate?" At first, he was stunned as he read her words. Following her gesture, he got to work on her shoulder as he spoke. The tablet translated, and Blue read, "She ran in the sunlight, wild and free. We had just dug ourselves out of our caves, where we had hid from the monsoon season. She ran around so fast on all fours, delighted in the sights and smells of the new growth. As I slowly walked and scanned the vegetation for food we could carry with us. Seeing the dappled forest sun rushing across her tawny pelt, I was lost for a moment in how beautiful she is. That's when it happened. I can only assume she'd misjudged the stability of a rock or something, but her cry was a horror to my ears. When I got to her, I saw her leg was broken. She was crying and whimpering and purring. I don't know why she was purring, but she hasn't stopped since. I tried to splint it, to set the bone. I tried to use my medical supplies, but they weren't designed for her species. Some I didn't dare try because I thought it would poison her. I built a carrier to drag her behind me, and she directed me to some of the local herbs. I tried to make a poultice for her, but her fever just kept getting worse. A pack of wildlife of some kind attacked us, but I fought them off at the cave entrance. I assumed she could hear... they could hear her, or smelled the blood, but I wasn't going to let them have her. The human gestured toward his scanner pack on a small ledge with its antenna extended. After 2 weeks, I finally decided it was time to call my people for help. I was worried. My people looked down upon relations with other species. But worse, the government might send her back to her people and never let me see her again. For her, I pulled out the scanner and reconfigured it to radio mode. Just then, I heard something at the cave entrance. I went to attack filled with fury, and you know the rest. I'm sorry about your shoulder. I kind of freaked out even more when you ate her. And I hope the translator is getting all of this through properly. Blue Stars nodded and felt the hand over where he'd bandaged the wound. She spoke and gave him time to read. It will heal, as will your mate, now that I have her inside my body. Your own injuries I can't help. Our healing does not work on humans. My enzymes would digest your flesh rather than heal it. But you are selfish. A deep, selfish love. He was shocked by the last lines. Many sounds came from him, but the translator only returned a few words. Selfish? What are you talking about? I just want her safe. It was no wonder his people had little tolerance for cross-species relationships. They had so little understanding of other people's ways. You want her for yourself. She loves you and came out to live alone with you, away from either of our peoples. Humans and Shozi are social creatures. We need community. Shozi more than humans. You did not wish to share her. Humans only have one mate at a time. Shozi need more mates. You are driving her insane. What? But I just want her safe. I want to be with her. I want us to be together. Blue listened to the echoes of this Naku's sleeping mind within her before responding. And she wants you. She loves you. But the isolation and lack of other mates is destroying her mind. The tribe of her birth is not far from here. She could have directed you there to find a Toan or Anto to help her. She tells me she is scared that if she returns, she will take other mates and you will leave her. In old times, you would be called a witch for spiriting her away like this to love only you. The enchantment of single love is dangerous to us. The human paced around the cave a little. Blue couldn't tell if he was still angry or not. Perhaps contemplative? It was hard to tell, since humans use so little body language. Sometimes he would look over to the large bulge in Blue's tail body, and she thought she recognized concern on his face. But perhaps that was just the logical reaction he should be feeling. Eventually, the translator gave her more to read. I don't know if I could stand knowing that she was in the tribal orgies. The thought of her being a mother or a father. Blue gave a heavy hiss of consternation that made him jump. Your culture. It has so much taboo of sex. We have taboo of jealousy. Taboo of selfishness. To love one and exclude others for that love is selfish. He thought long and hard on this. Several minutes going by looking at the bulge, concealing his sleeping lover within the large serpentine body of the Shozi Anto, taking up most of the room in his caves. He reached out before asking, Can I rub your tail body where she's inside you? Blue simply nodded her assent. Even in sleep, feeling you here helps her. How's she doing in there? Already her fever is broken. I have fed her rich nutrition. I have eaten away the necrotic flesh and most of the infection. I am now moving the bone back into alignment, but this is a slow process. The bone will fuse by tomorrow midday. In 2 days I can let her out, but she must walk slow for at least a day after. No running and no mating. But her mind, that will take longer to heal, and only if you let her. Only if you let go of your selfishness. He pressed his cheek to Blue's underbelly scales as his love's hand reached toward him from inside. He wouldn't have been able to see it, but Blue knew. Finally, he nodded as a tear fell from his eye to Blue's fur, and she read his words. For her, I will try. And we'll get over it and let her go. Yeah. Geez, how long ago did I write this? Let's see. This isn't the first version. Probably this one. (2015). And that I don't think is actually when I first wrote it, because this was an assignment I submitted at school as being my best work to date. And then I've since made other adjustments, but yeah. Oh, this looks like it's probably the original. How do I feel it holds up? There's a lot of things. 2014. Almost a year before I submitted it as an assignment. There's definitely a lot of things that I know I would not write that way anymore. Paragraph choppiness, certain repetitions. I think I've definitely improved in flowing things. And definitely in descriptive. So yeah, it's kind of nice looking back at older pieces. Let's see. So going into Act 2 is a major shift. It also makes me feel that I probably need Act 1 to end in a kind of strong position. The Stiller Empire story I was talking about earlier. So Johnson and Claire are both characters in my sBrier story. Hello, Mr. Shadow Paradox. Thank you for the follow earlier. welcome to the stream. The So Thorn was the second character that we encounter in the main body of the story. What would be good kind of first chapter climax? Not chapter, first act climax. Because so far I've been just having a bunch of characters who are entering the medium, entering the game. Let's see, doing well, working on my big crossover project. Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. Or should it be ended on Thorn? Let's see, I can't end it on Fall Guy because his entry in the next act is a pretty major thing. See, is this a good time to ask a question? Absolutely. Right now, I'm kind of spitballing ideas for what I need to do for finishing the first act of the story. So, excellent time for questions. I just realized I never turned on my music. Let's see. So I'm working on a scene that introduces one of the main villains, and I am unsure of at which point people start realizing something is off about him. I have two ideas. Both generally seem to work well, but I am unsure of which sounds better. Okay? Idea 1. The doorman notices the specific oddness the moment the villain comes in the door. Which would definitely imply that whatever's odd about the villain is a fairly obvious thing if the doorman is noticing it. And idea 2. The doorman, or the woman that the main villain is talking to, notices each oddness over time. So yeah, both can definitely work. The question is, how blatant do you want it to be? If you or I were in the room, see, the first and only obvious bit is the villain reeks. Oddly, I was kind of getting that might be involved. But there is nothing obvious on him that should stink. Bit uncomfortable with the idea that any oddness is a sign of villainy. Indeed. It's one of the reasons why I tend to write my main characters and even lots of side characters very odd with no villainy. Main villain is secretly a hyper-intelligent zombie trying to hide amongst the living. Huh. Using odd in the sense of something is off, but unsure of what is off. Not that people who are odd are automatically evil. Yeah, because, I mean, writers are odd. And we're usually not evil. Hyper-intelligent zombie. If he's hyper-intelligent, then likely to have gone to some rather extreme extents to try covering up any scent of rot. Because he'd understand that humans react badly to bad scents. Yeah, perfume would be a huge one. Attempts at sterilizing at least the surface of the flesh. Definitely trying to keep it clean, even if it's falling apart. Anosmia. Is that the one where you can't smell? Okay. Let's see. Meet the consorts. Okay, have a good dinner. Let's see. Okay, so I was going to... Let's see. Think I need to turn off the sound and lurk for numbers only for a while. Have a good rest of your stream. Thank you very much, Angstates. Glad to have had you around. And thank you for sticking around for the numbers. Let's see. And that validation means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I didn't think it was going to hit that hard. Ah. As a knight, I think an inventory suits me best, but I don't really know how to fight or wear armor. The game will provide, as long as you keep trying to play the part. What was... Kitty, Catherine Seong. Oh, that's on the wrong page. Catherine Seong. Catherine. Oh. Top of the list. So, the Page of Mind. I have 2 mind players. Right, yes, because mind is electricity. And Catherine is definitely, I want her electricity. Do I have any other duplicates? So, Catherine and Calcan are both mind. Coily Thix is Thix and Koi combined, so both. Yep, Red Jasper has both. Thorn and Thornianto, of course, would both be space. They're both the Knight of Space. And Retro was space, but becomes heart. Stage, source, time, void. Just a second. Okay. Let's see. Right, okay. For a limited time only, the Cthulhupa. That's okay. What other important things are here? I don't know. But I'm feeling a bit burnt on writing at the moment, unfortunately. And it has been a good few hours. I think it is time we actually raid over somewhere. Especially when I have a decent audience, we're doing a raid. So any people I'm following doing writing? Lady Winter author is no one else that I'm following is doing writing right now. What's Lady Winter up to? Looks like... Okay, looks like they're doing sprints. Who else we got going? Not very many people in the writing category right now. Desdemona Rose? What are you doing? World Anvil, Summer Camp, World Building, Writing, Editor, Co-working, Stream Raiders, LGBTQI Play, Safe.
For my kid, so that makes it even more cool, even though my kid never really liked Pokemon.
Yeah, let's go right over to Desdemona Rose. So
Sounds better, at least. Hopefully, like I have some people.
so Desdemona Rose is currently working on some world building writing and talking about their cat.
I've heard that, like, over time, it can cause damage.
But I am thankful for you all to have come by today.
But I'm not super familiar.
Thanks for the raids. And I usually try to stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 3 p.m. Mountain Time for 3 to 5 hours usually. Sometimes go longer, but I don't always do writing. I do writing, sometimes I do roguelike games, and I've also been doing a bit of Elden Ring lately. Looking forward to doing more of that in the future. So, yeah, if you want to see my schedule, it's posted and will adjust to your local time zone. Let's head on over.
Hello, Thorny MU, and thank you for the raid.